What's up, team? Today we're talking about congruent triangles. Congruent triangles, which is the learning target above. You can use corresponding parts of congruent triangles to solve problems. So the statement immediately beneath that is important. When two triangles are congruent, then each of their corresponding parts are also congruent. So here's what I mean by this. If you're given this statement, triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF, here's triangle ABC, here's triangle DEF, we're told that they're congruent. So here's what I'm telling you today. Their corresponding parts are also congruent. So that means angle A and angle D have the same angle measure. They are congruent to one another. Similarly, angle B and angle E have the same angle measure. And then, of course, angle C, angle F also have the same angle measure. Now, that doesn't mean that A, B, C all have the same measure, but A is the same as D, B is the same as E, and C has the same measure as F. Similarly, we can do the same thing with side lengths. So side AB is congruent to side DE. They have the same exact length. BC congruent to EF, and AC congruent to DF. Notice the different number of tick marks are like little angle markers here. So the ones with one tick mark, these are congruent to one another. The one with two, they're congruent, and the ones with three, those are congruent to one another. We're even so picky as when we write out our statements, they need to be in the correct order. So that means if we have triangle ABC is congruent to DEF, A better be corresponding with D, B is corresponding with E, and C is corresponding with F. If I were to have these exact triangles, but if I wrote my statement as triangle ABC is congruent to triangle EFD, this would not be a true statement because A is not corresponding with E. Eventually, you'll have to write your own statements, and you'll have to look like, okay, this angle A has this measure, angle D has this measure. They are the same. They must be corresponding, and you're going to write them in that order. So be extra picky on the order you write your statements in, because again, this one is incorrect. This one's incorrect. Okay, so let me summarize that real quick with this wordy statement that you're going to see a lot of. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. This statement is so powerful, so useful that we have an acronym that we use to abbreviate it that you're going to see a lot of. So the acronym is CPCTC. You'll see this a lot of times as a reason in a proof or just a reason for solving a problem. Like, how do you know this angle is the same as the other one? Well, CPCTC. We know the triangles are congruent. And so corresponding parts are also congruent, whether it's an angle or a side length. So CPCTC, please make sure that this is captured in your notes. Okay, let's do one simple example together here. So we have these two triangles. We're told that they're congruent. Triangle DOG is congruent to triangle CAT. Let's try to figure this out and see where things are. DO and G, and then CA and T. So it looks like they're the same triangles, but one's like twisted around a little bit. That's okay. Because of the way that these are ordered, we know that D and C are corresponding angles, O and A, and then G and T are also corresponding. So let's look at the information we have, and let's try to fill out as much as we can in both triangles based on the info we have. So we know DG has a length of 12, and angle D is 115 degrees. Angle A is 30 degrees. Side AT is 26 centimeters. Okay, if D has a measure of 115 degrees, then C must also have an angle measure of 115 degrees because they are corresponding angles. In the same way, angle A and angle O are corresponding angles. So this one here is 30 degrees. And lastly, if side AT has length 26 centimeters, then side GO must also be 26 centimeters. And I jumped the gun a little bit. That's not lastly. We have one more piece of information that we know. If GD is 12 centimeters, then CT must also be 12 centimeters. There's a few pieces of information we don't have. We just don't have enough information to complete this puzzle here. We don't have the measure of angle G or the measure of angle T. Well, that makes sense, because if we had one, then we definitely have the other. Similarly, side CA and DO, we don't have either of those side lengths. Again, if we had one, we would have the other. So this is as far as we can take this particular one. Some of them you'll be able to take farther. Some of them you won't be able to take quite as far. Some of them you'll only need like one corresponding angle within a grander problem with a lot of other stuff going on. So remember, corresponding parts of congruent triangles are also congruent. Okay, let's knock out these practice problems. Let me know if you have any questions.